I'm Brian Kenny. Chris Berman, Mike Golick, NFL Primetime is here. Chris Berman, take it away.
Coming up on NFL Primetime.
Touchdown Titans! There are no flags on the field!
Can part 2 of Wild Card Weekend possibly top that? The Vikes' deadly receivers plan for an aerial assault at the Metrodome, while the boys look for one more legendary run behind their champion. Can slumping Seattle soar, or will they be the Seabags? The floundering fish got their playoff wish. Could this be Dan's last chance? And which teams will survive another Sunday? It's playoff prime time next. Hello and welcome to Wild Card Sunday of NFL Primetime. I'm Chris Berman along with, wait a minute.
I'm not Tom.
No, not, Mike Golick is with us. Hi, Mike.
How you doing, Boom?
I'm good. Hey, playoff football.
You know, the great thing about this is the finality. If you're on the winning team, because you lose, next time you're at your place, you're packing your gear to go home.
That is for sure. We're down to 8 teams, and we should say that Tom is not here. We now have the Jackson 4. Tom and Jen Jackson already with Taylor, and then yesterday afternoon, Morgan Jackson. So congratulations to the Jackson 4.
We'll see highlights of that, maybe.
Yeah, well, it sounds like a singing group, right? Right. All right, the Jacksons enjoyed the game, and we enjoyed a little playoff richness in history. When you put the Cowboys and Vikings together, you think back to great playoff matchups in the 70s, like the Hail Mary. This year, the Minnesota Vikings kind of coming from off the pace a little bit. Last year, they were the heavy favorites in '98. This year, they're going to try and sneak through the back door a little bit in the NFC playoffs. For Dallas, a chance to kind of make good on a season in which their last road win was opening day in early September. Here we go to the Great White North, where the Cowboys on a Monday night in November actually had the Vikings down 17-0 before Minnesota wins it. Eric Williams, Chris Carter, Randy Moss, Troy Aikman. 16th playoff game for him. Cowboys with experience, and one of the guys with experience, Emmitt Smith. Cowboys, hey, Tony Dorsett, you mentioned the names, Calvin Hill, etc. Nobody had ever run a playoff run for Dallas in the postseason longer than this. 65 yards, and maybe he tripped over Greg LaFleur, Mike.
But I tell you what, and I played against this guy a lot. He's very tough to bring down, but this is some of the poorest tackling I've seen in a while. These guys just are not wrapping up, and Emmitt does a great job of shaking him. Should have gotten the end zone, though.
Well, but Dallas will get in the end zone, right? I mean, 2 yards down to the 1. All right, so now we have second and goal from the 1. Emmitt. This is McDaniel and Dwayne Rudd. Now 3rd and inches. Aikman. Oh, play action. David LaFleur. Oh, it's hard to overthrow him, but he did. 3-0 Dallas rather than 7-0 for Chan Gailey. Vikings held on first possession. Mitch Berger. Oh, it's fumbled by Deion Sanders, and Dwayne Rudd is Johnny on the spot.
You know, you're used to getting down there fast to cover this guy. You don't expect the ball to be on the ground. Bad mistake by Deion.
So the Vikings keep possession, and 5 plays later, Gary Anderson, 47 yards. It's good. We're tied at 3-all. So one miscue, Dallas cost them 3 points. Next possession, 2nd and 10. Aikman to the Rocket Man. Rocket Ishmael, 45 yards. Boy, Dallas comes out in this game, as they did on the Monday, as they have so many times this year, strong in the first quarter. Aikman, Ishmael, 15 yards. And Ishmael, Troy Aikman saw the matchup.
Well, Aikman did see the matchup. 3 receivers. There's Ishmael on the safety, Robert Griffith. Fastest man on the Dallas team. Easy matchup against the safety. Knows he'll get some space. Waits for him to clear. Aikman hits it right on the money.
3 plays later, 1st and goal at the 5. This time it is Emmitt. And it is a touchdown. His 21st career touchdown, tying him with Thurman Thomas, #1 all-time postseason touchdown list. Aikman to Robert Thomas, but again, it's Dwayne Rudd. He strips to the ball. Whoop, whoop, whoop. Anthony Bass swimming to it for the Vikings. So, another miscue for Dallas. Robert Smith, 12 yards. Boy, a healthy Robert Smith. What a different club this is, as if they don't have enough weapons. 3rd and 25. George to Robert Smith. George T. Oh, he's always around the ball. Unfortunately, he was just around the ball. 3rd and 25. It's a touchdown. We're tied at 10 late second quarter. 1st and 10 Vikes. Watch this by Jeff George. Win! Does he fire this or what? To Randy Moss. Touchdown, 58 yards. The Vikings with the lead.
That's why those receivers like Jeff George in that game. He gets the ball down there. Moss just gets a little push off at the end, gets a little space, and then does a little back dance in.
And he goes over Kevin Mathis, and he goes in to see all the Vikings. And Eric the Red is in there. 17-10 Vikings, and now third quarter, George to Moss. Charlie Williams spun around like a top. 24 yards, and there's those underneath. We're going to talk about that in a moment.
Yes, we will.
Later on in the drive, they settle for a field goal. Gary Anderson. Now it's 20-10. Minnesota. Fourth quarter, 3rd and 5 Vikings. And you know what? He runs it, but he also catches and runs. He's got a little convoy as Robert Smith. And he's got a little afterburner, too. 32 yards on the play. 3 plays later. 3rd and 1 at the 5. Chris Carter, all he does?
Catch, touchdown.
This is all he did this game. 1 catch, 5 yards, but it's a touchdown. And the Vikings are 27-10, Mike.
This is what Carter and George see. Charlie Williams is going to blitz. George Teague has man-to-man. He's too far back. You can't be in man-to-man off the blitz and be this far off your receiver. Too much room. That's one of the easier touchdown passes he's had.
The only thing going wrong with the Vikings at this point with the huge kickoff, watch Leif Erikson in the end zone. Oh, man! He almost got hit by that wayward ship. But hey, he's fired up. Leif Erikson at the game. So, Shangaley not as amused. Says, yeah, I got away from this. Now I'm back to it, even though I'm down 17 points. And Emmitt Smith, 22 yards. Later in the drive, 3rd and 8. Dallas going to make a game of it. They're 9 minutes to go. Jason Tucker inside the 10. Oh, it's a fumble. And whoop. The ball gets, they get in the end zone. The problem is they're not holding on to the ball. Touchback. Would have been a 10-point. Michael Irvin looking on. Later in the 4th, they are admittedly running out of time, but you never know. Aikman picked off by Robert Griffin. So twice deep to maybe get in the game. They can't do it. Troy Aikman, Emmitt Smith going home. 1-8 on the road this year. Chris Carter, Minnesota Vikings. Moving on. They'll be on the road as long as they go in the playoffs. But the key thing is they're going in the playoffs. Vikings beat the Cowboys 27-10. Total of 198 yards, 140 of them rushing by Robert Smith. Troy Aikman with good numbers. Emmitt Smith with good numbers. 15 carries, 99 yards. Passes Franco Harris. He now has 1,586 postseason yards. That's #1 all-time in rushing. But in the end, the Cowboys, another one of those 500 teams that can't get it done in the playoffs. And the Minnesota Vikings have the hot hand. Jeff George as a starter, now 9-2, and they got weapons.
In the playoffs, they want to go to the Super Bowl. So, you know, we can't really get ahead of ourselves or jump around and things like that because we still got some games to play.
How do I assess the season? 8 and 9. Mediocre, up and down, nothing consistent.
We underachieved. We underachieved. When you sit in that locker room, it's unbelievable looking around at the guys collectively. Especially, I think we placed 5 guys on the Pro Bowl and probably had another 2 or 3 that deserved to go also. And you can't go any farther than the first round. That's not good.
It's just one game, and you know this team's ultimate goal is just like everybody else's to win a championship.
Well, the Minnesota Vikings is spot Dallas the lead, Mike, but they come on like gangbusters. And okay, so Dallas holds Chris Carter to 1 catch for 5 yards. Hey, we're doing okay, but they had to give up something, right?
Well, absolutely. Everybody talks about the passing attack of Minnesota, but how about that running game? And boom, as you said, a healthy Robert Smith. What a job he does. And not just an inside or an outside guy, because you can take that part away. He was running inside. He said when there was no hole there, you put his shoulder down, he's bowling ahead for 4 or 5 more and getting on the outside. And those screen passes, just like sweeps, getting to the outside, keeps his hands on the ball. I mean, you know this offensive passing machine may get it going, but to have that run, Hort only had 1 carry in this, and he usually has a nice 1-2 punch.
So Robert Smith now 4 to the last 7 games, 100 yards. He had a 1,000-yard season, even though he missed several with the injury. You like the adjustments Minnesota made and the much maligned, really, from last year, Ray Sherman.
Oh, absolutely. Let's give Ray Sherman a lot of credit for this. Everybody knows Minnesota loves to go deep. Well, what Dallas did, they kept their safeties back. Moss would go down the field. Those safeties were tearing out of there, so Jeff George was hanging onto the ball, waiting for Moss to clear. He got sacked 3 times. So what do? Moss runs off the safety, cuts it right underneath. Nice 15, 20-yard games. Good adjustment by Ray Sherman.
So Minnesota now goes into St. Louis. We'll talk about next week's matchups at the end of the show. And that, you know, that you could have to bring your abacus for that game. That could be a lot of fun. The Dallas Cowboys, one of 8 teams 500 or worse to make the playoffs. What a surprise. All 8 lost the first playoff game that they played. We go inside the numbers. You know, like that Monday night game, early on, Dallas was great. First 2 possessions, they were wonderful, but after that, different story. First quarter, 152 yards. Last 3 quarters, only 237 yards. So a 17-0 lead on Monday night, a 10-3 lead in this game, 0-2 in the WL column.
Inside the Numbers is brought to you by Visa, the official card of the NFL. Log on to ESPN.com for more Inside the Numbers.
We return the final piece of the opening round puzzle. Dan Marino and the Dolphins. Could they win far, far, far away from home in the Kingdom against the Seattle Seahawks?